Today we are analyzing the most significant military escalation in modern history. First, we'll examine the financial and human cost of President Trump's sudden bombing of Iran and the disgusting dismissal of American casualties as "that's the way it is."
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case.
Second, we'll conduct a forensic comparison between the current silence over dead U.S. service members and the decade-long political exploitation of Benghazi. And finally, we will break down the scorched earth strategy being deployed across 14 countries and why the global economy is facing a Monday morning like no other.
In the past 24 hours, Iran has taken military action against 14 countries: the USA, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, Bahrain, Israel, Oman, Syria, Cyprus, France, Italy, and the UK.
I'm Camilo Motato, reporting for Thu News. As a certified public accountant, I'm trained to look past the rhetoric and audit the results. In business, if a CEO promises a year of peace and cost-cutting, but delivers a merger with chaos and skyrocketing liabilities, that CEO has committed a breach of fiduciary duty. Today, we are auditing the ultimate breach, a president who campaigned on no more wars, but has just initiated a full-scale military offensive that is draining American blood and capital in the Middle East. The news just broke. 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action following the U.S. strikes on Iran. This should be a moment of national mourning and intense congressional scrutiny. Instead, President Trump stood before the cameras and offered a line that should chill every military family in the country. He said, "There will likely be more before it ends. That's the way it is." As a professional, I look at the human capital risk. In any other administration, saying, "that's the way it is," about dead patriots would be a career-ending statement. I want you to engage in a thought experiment with me. Imagine if, after the 4 Americans died in Benghazi, Hillary Clinton had said, "that's the way it is, likely be more." The same Republicans who spent 10 years clutching their pearls over Benghazi are now shrugging this off with a sad face emoji on Twitter. The disparity in the media ecosystem isn't just a political point. It's a total collapse of moral consistency. Let's follow the paper trail of hypocrisy. For a decade, the right-wing media lived off the tragedy of Benghazi. They called for hearings. They demanded jail time. They said, "nobody is above the law." They claimed that mishandling classified information was a violation of the Espionage Act. But now, when 3 Americans die needlessly because Donald the Dove decided to launch one of the most complex military offensives the world has ever seen, we get silence. Laura Ingraham, who tweeted about Benghazi 20 times, managed a simple "pray for our troops." Anna Paulina Luna spared only a sad face emoji. As an accountant, I see this as a bad debt in political capital. They never actually cared about the lives lost. They cared about the cudgel they could use against the Democrats. Now that a Republican president is responsible, the accountability theater has been closed for the season. Trump entered office with a mandate for peace. He said, and I quote, "I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. No more disruptions." He called himself the candidate of peace. But what are the results of our audit? We are now seeing George W. Bush 2.0 on steroids. The rhetoric is identical. In 2003, we were told we'd be greeted as liberators in Iraq. Tonight, Trump is telling the people of Iran that the hour of your freedom is at hand. He is using the same smoking gun to a mushroom cloud logic that led us into a 20-year quagmire. He lied about his intentions to get elected, only to usher in a Middle Eastern policy that is more aggressive than any neoconservative dream. Where is our tax money going? As a CPA, I have to flag the misallocation of funds. Trump promised to protect earned benefits, lower grocery prices, and make housing affordable. Instead, he launched a trade war that raised the cost of living and gutted Medicaid for 17 million people. He cut food assistance by $186 billion for the hungriest Americans. And yet, we have all the money in the world for military action in Iran, Venezuela, Yemen, Somalia, Nigeria, Syria, and Iraq. How does bombing a facility in Isfahan help a family in South Dakota who can't afford rent? It doesn't. Trump is spending blood equity to protect his own legacy, while his voters get nothing but inflation and higher grocery bills. He cares about the guy he sees in the mirror, not the family struggling with the trade war he ignited. In the last 24 hours, the military calculus has shifted from a limited strike to a regime liquidation. The reports coming out of Tehran are staggering. The Ayatollah is dead. President Trump announced it with his usual lack of diplomacy, calling him a wretched and vile man. But as an auditor, I don't look at the labels. I look at the succession risk. The entire military command of Iran is effectively gone, wiped out in the first 36 hours of what Trump calls one of the most overwhelming military offensives in history. We are seeing videos of Iranian citizens celebrating in the streets, but we are also seeing a military that is trying to negotiate surrender in exchange for immunity. As a CPA, I see this as an insolvency of power. When a state's leadership is decapitated and the soldiers are looking for a payout to lay down their arms, the country is officially bankrupt. Trump is calling on Iranian patriots to take back their country, but he's doing it while American bombs are still falling. He promised the rest would be up to them, but in the world of geopolitical auditing, a power vacuum is a liability that someone always has to pay for. While the US is all in, our allies are in a state of total paralysis. Look at Keir Starmer in the UK. His statement sounded less like a world leader and more like a YouTube apology video.
And explained that the United Kingdom was not involved in the strikes on Iran. That remains the case. Over the last 2 days, Iran has launched sustained attacks across the region, where British citizens are staying. Our decision that the UK would not be involved with the strikes on Iran was deliberate, because we believe.
He spent half his speech explaining that the UK was not involved in the strikes, despite Iran launching attacks against partners in the region where British citizens are staying. Starmer is pussyfooting around the issue because he's terrified of his own voter base. He says the best way forward is a negotiated settlement, while the missiles are already in the air. Then, in a moment of total contradiction, he says the only way to stop the threat is to destroy the missiles at source, but refuses to join offensive action. From a strategic partnership perspective, the UK has just defaulted on its obligations. They are publishing legal advice summaries while the world is burning. It's a scorched earth strategy from Iran, and the British response is to convene a special Security Council on Monday. As the joke goes, World War III is happening live, but for the Europeans, the war starts on Monday after the weekend break. Contrast the UK's hesitation with the French response. The French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle has just left the Baltic Sea and is setting sail for the eastern Mediterranean. Why? Because Iran didn't just target the US. They took military action against 14 countries in 24 hours, including France, Italy, and the UK. As an accountant, I analyze exposure. Iran has decided to go for a total war ledger, striking everyone from the UAE to Cyprus. They are betting that if they attack enough partners, the alliance will crumble under the weight of the risk. But by dragging France into this, they forced a nuclear-armed European power to mobilize. The Charles de Gaulle moving south is a clear signal that the Monday morning security meeting in the UK is already too late. We have to ask, what happened to the candidate of peace? Trump told us October 7th would have never happened under his watch. He told us Ukraine would have never happened. He said he was no George W. Bush. But look at the performance audit today. We are in a full-scale Middle Eastern war. Inflation is rising, nearly hitting the same levels as when Biden left office. Grocery prices, housing, and rent are at all-time highs. Trump is gutting Medicaid and food assistance for millions of Americans while spending billions on Tomahawk missiles. This is a bait-and-switch of historical proportions. He campaigned on the South Dakota family, but is serving the military-industrial complex and his own ego. He cares about the ballroom and the legacy, while the service members, the true patriots he claims to love, are being told that their deaths are just the way it is. The final audit of this week shows a world on the brink of a systemic collapse. The Ayatollah is dead, the Strait is a war zone, and the American president has traded his peace mandate for a war of choice. The Monday morning reckoning is upon us. The markets will open on Monday to a reality where the US is engaged in multiple conflicts across the globe. As a CPA, I see a nation that is over-leveraged on war and underfunded on its own people. But I want to hear from you. Do you still believe Trump is the candidate of peace after these strikes? Is "that's the way it is" a satisfactory response for the families of the fallen? Let me know in the comments below. Your voice is the only thing that can audit the powerful when the media goes silent. I'm Camilo Motado, certified public accountant for Thu News. Thank you for staying for this 10-minute deep dive into the truth they won't tell you on the nightly news. Subscribe, stay informed, and stay safe.